Hello everyone, and today we are trying to fix up this Sherman. So this I made this a long time ago, a few years ago actually, and it came in the Operation Overlord D-Day set along with a Tiger tank. But as you can see, it's pretty messy, so I just wanted to neaten it up a little bit and also add some weathering. So we'll start with it. Get our paint. Just paint over it in a thin layer, and then we'll see where we might need some more paint in other areas on the tank. So I think that area is all done. We could go ahead and just put a light coat of paint on it, because just to match it up with the new paint we are using, the shades would never be exactly the same. Wipe any paint which you've only just put on in the wrong place. Just use your finger to do it. It shouldn't have really affected the paint job just quite enough yet for you to actually have to repaint that area. So let's be careful next to here, and okay, it's looking a lot better than before. I think the other side's just fine, so we won't have to do that. Okay, a bit on the front here. So we'll repaint the details on later after we've gotten the base paint work to dry. Put some paint on the top here where it's needed, and should be good to go. Might put some more on the rim of the turret. Doesn't matter as much, as we will be painting this area here with mud. First we'll do the tracks and then do the front, and after that we'll do everywhere else. So put the lids back on, do the tracks with an undercoat of black first, and then later we'll use a cotton bud to apply the weathering. With this you don't really need to worry about an undercoat, as this is the undercoat, so just put the paint on and let it dry for a bit, and we'll come back to that later. For areas that are to be weathered, such as tracks, it's a good idea to actually use a grey or a black almost as an undercoat, just for the undercoats, because those areas will be covered later, and natural waste such as mud and areas like bogland are often composed of darker colours. This track's a bit loose here, so we'll apply some glue. Now, since this is rubber, we'll be using the Umbro glue, because this is good for gripping onto other materials. Oops, put a bit too much there, but we can use that. Tracks, when they were put on them, that wasn't a great job. Tracks are a bit loose here, so use a paper clip and apply a bit onto the other areas where the track has come off. Okay, and just hold it in place. Hold it like that. Now we wait for a few more seconds, and then we will let go. Okay, bottom there's done. just use the board to hold it. And while that's drying, we can do the other track. Do a general coat. Ah, the back of this one's loose too. That's a shame. Well, this one's have to let it dry. Hopefully it stays in the position I wanted it. This one's a bit loose in the same area. Okay, and put some glue. Okay. Let's just do. Oh, this one's come off completely. That's good and also bad at the same time, but at least it means we can refix the track on. Hopefully we'll do a better job this time. You can always use another tool or your paper clip to actually push the track in. Now this time let's make sure we do a good job so we don't have to come back to this again. Just hold it like that. Okay, I think that's looking a lot better already. This track's still drying, which let's see if we can dislodge it, as it will be just easier to reattach the back of the track. Or if possible, move it along at least, so it's more. Ah, that's much better. Okay, looking much better already for both sides of the track. If we can push this a bit further. Okay, both tracks look like they will turn out well. So we could go back onto the star for a bit, or we could do a bit more of weathering, as we haven't really done any yet. So I think I'll do a bit of weathering now and then move back onto the star and then see how and what we need to do. So bit of glue there. Lid. Put the lid back on the glue. This glue does dry very fast. So I think this video is going to be quite a long video. Never mind. It's going to be great. So for the mud, I think I'll be using some brown 29, some dark earth, same paint I've been using on the Spitfire for the brown. So what else do we have in here? Let's see. I think some yellow even. Yeah, some yellow and some red. We'll be mixing some of these paints to make different shades as we... Oh, and of course some black, because to make it darker. We'll be really needing to make paints lighter. So let's just move these out the way. The track's still good, doing good. We will do the mud for the front of the tracks and a bit on the back. So get a mixture of a small bit of dark earth. Don't need too much, but since it is the main paint we'll be using, just use quite a bit. Okay, let's just get all of it off, as much off as possible. We'll be using 29 later, but let's apply some red. We'll be applying this in multiple coats, so I want to have different kinds of colours. Apply a good bit of red in there. Okay, now if you can see that, it's very interesting colour. We'll apply some yellow and then use some black to darken it. Effectively, we're adding orange and brown. Orange with anything that has a metallic tint to it is actually very good for rust. But so is orange brown and that metallic colour. It doesn't really matter what metallic colour it is, but any metallic colour will do, such as aluminium or just gun steel. Not so much gun steel as it's a bit darker actually, but aluminium's great for that kind of job. Just use a tiny bit of this yellow. Okay. See if that'll be enough. Put the cap on here. Okay, that's looking good. I'll apply a bit of black to darken it. Now you don't want to apply too much black, but just a tiny bit will do. As you can see, there are still bits of unmixed paint on the edges. That's the original colour without the black, and then with that black added, it's almost like the original brown we started off with, but darker. Okay, now for weathering, and specifically the area where we're doing a cotton bud is comes in handy. So you might need to, if not a piece of tissue, small piece of loosely scrunched up tissue like this, like that will do. But cotton bud's ideal. Now, so let's get our cotton bud right in there. And then, almost like mottling, just dab it on the area where you want it. Sometimes it's actually better to get a tool and tear the cotton bud out a bit so it's more fluffy. Just remove that bit. Be careful when using sharp tools, so it can hurt you very easily, but like that's much better for actual weathering. So just don't apply too much, good amount, but not too much. For the base colour of your weathering pattern, it's actually okay to just put a bit more on than needed, as some of it will be covered. Of course you don't want to completely cover it, because that'd be just like using a coat of the colour. Okay, so it's looking much better now. Okay, so we are back after letting this dry. Before it's dried, I forgot to say that it's important that you actually put a bit on the tracks as well, but also, more importantly, on the back, as that would be, if there's mud on the front, there'd almost certainly be mud on the back too. So, yeah. Okay, after that, whoops, do you want to remove the cotton bud area with paint? I just removed the whole thing just there, but I'll put some of it back on. Mix our next paint. The next paint's going to be a lot lighter. It's actually just going to be the 29 Humbrol brown. Yeah. Just move that out of the way for now and add this. Now you normally want to at least have 1 or 2 shades of brown or mud or stuff like that. Or, that's what I try to maintain at least. But of course you will be needing other colours later, and that's where we'll be needing our metallic colour. Of course this is optional, all of this is optional, but it does help. It does add to the realism quite a bit. For this we'll use another cotton bud, or the same one actually. Apply a bit less of this one. This side's not doing very well right now, so it's just... Oh, that's not good. Just ripped the whole thing out. Oh dear. Let's just use a bit of the cotton that's come out. It's probably easier. Okay, so let's just add a bit on the rivets at the front. There, just dot a bit along. Don't forget, you can always use your fingers. Okay, so let's just a lighter bit. Looks much more realistic with 1 or 2 shades, 2 shades or more of mud. Of course you don't have to do under here as no one will be able to see it, than it would do for 1 shade of mud. It just makes it look more like it's been through a battlefield, as mud's not always one colour. So yeah, okay, so that's that done. We'll apply some almost some worn off bits where the paint's worn off. I tend to use flat aluminium XF16 Tamiya, because it's also got a glittery tint to it almost, if you can understand what I mean. It's good. It's very good for adding details. Okay, so let's apply some of this onto places where you'd expect high wear. Apply some around the machine gun port. I have lost a machine gun, and this was made quite a. I made this model quite a long time ago, so I doubt I'll find a machine gun for it. But it's a shame. Apply some on the turret hatches. Don't want to overdo it. Also around the rings. You can always remove excess paint by painting back over it later. And put some around the turret ring itself. Now you don't want to overdo it with weathering, that's a key part. You don't want to do too much weathering, otherwise it will just look unrealistic. So just a bit, as metal wear would be all around the tank, in some key areas. Now I'll fix that up with green later, but as you can see, of course, there's always areas where you will mess up the paint, but it will just go over that later. You also want to put a tiny bit on the brown areas mentioned earlier. Also on the edges of the tank where it's been welded, not too much though, just a bit. You can see we'll fix that up again later. It's very important to put some on the hinges and the hatches where the metal would come into contact with other metal, because that's where you'd expect to find such wear and tear. So it's just the lighting a bit. So if you can see here, I've applied a bit too much there, so I'll have to fix that. But just a bit around the turret ring makes it more realistic, along with a bit on the front just here. Just adjust the camera, the light, sorry, just a bit there. But that would be about it for the metallic weathering. A bit on the engine compartment, engine compartment roof, and the equipment attached to the side doesn't hurt either. But we have to always remember not to overdo it, otherwise it just doesn't look realistic. Okay, we'll just apply some on the turret here as well, because all parts would be worn very slightly. Apply some on the hatch rim, where you would expect to find metal paint, where the paint's worn off. It's looking much better. Weathering really does add a lot more to the realism of a tank, well, of anything really. Even aircraft have bits of areas where they need to be, well, they don't need to be, but where weathering would make it look a lot more realistic. So all we have to do now is tidy up the bits where the weathering has gone wrong, and yeah. So far the tank is looking a lot better than it was before. I do have another one here. I will not be doing that in today's video. Might do it in the future, but that is the machine gun and what it would look like if it was there. Just adjust the lighting, just there. So we'll do a comparison later on after we have finished this. Green looks slightly off. But it is the right green. That's bizarre. Sometimes you just need to check the paint. Sometimes it will look off. But yeah, so let's just apply a bit here. Fix up all the areas where the paint has gone wrong. Whoops. Okay, let's just fix up this. I won't be applying weathering to this today. Might do in a future video, but I highly doubt it. Now, okay, let's just completely fix up this star. This has taken way too long. That area's fixed up. Now let's just fix up this area. Okay, I think we are good to go to finish up the last part. Although this area still does need the last tiny bit of paint fixed up. But apart from that, that small point at the star, point of a star right at the top should be done. Yeah, I think that looks as good as we will get it, so... Oh, I've got paint on the top. Okay, so... just... Okay, so I think that will be it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Please comment, share and subscribe, as it does help the channel, and thank you for watching.